Prepare yourself for one of the boldest insurance fraud attempts ever exposed in Judge Judy history. When Karen Whitmore entered the courtroom wearing a spotless neck brace and leaning dramatically on a wooden cane, she looked every bit like a woman crushed by pain, her face twisted with carefully rehearsed agony as she prepared to demand $50,000 from her former employer over what she claimed was a devastating workplace injury. She believed she had perfected every detail of her story. 3 separate doctors had provided medical notes. Prescription records documented powerful painkillers. Months of physical therapy attendance sheets backed her claims. And her performance of constant suffering was polished enough to fool almost anyone. Karen walked into court, convinced she was about to walk away with the biggest payout of her life from a small business owner she thought couldn't defend himself. What she didn't realize was that Judge Judy had spent the previous night preparing a trap so precise and devastating that it would destroy Karen's entire scheme in front of millions of viewers. Hidden quietly in the back of the courtroom sat a silver-haired man in an expensive suit, a leather medical bag resting at his feet, and a thick folder balanced on his lap. Nobody in the room knew who he was or why Judge Judy had personally arranged for him to be there. But the moment his identity was revealed, Karen's carefully crafted fraud would collapse in spectacular fashion. Within less than 3 minutes, the confident scammer who believed she had beaten the system would transform into a humiliated criminal caught in her own web of lies. The footage would spread across the internet, gathering tens of millions of views and becoming one of the most infamous courtroom fraud exposures ever seen. What made the case even more shocking was the sheer complexity of Karen's deception. This wasn't a desperate person making a foolish mistake. Karen had built an elaborate operation around insurance fraud. She had manipulated multiple doctors who didn't know about one another. She collected conflicting medical documentation, staged evidence, and carefully curated social media posts designed to support her claims. Her lies were layered so deeply that even her own attorney had no idea how extensive the fraud really was. She had turned deception into a profitable side business and felt absolutely no remorse for the innocent people whose lives she damaged along the way. Judge Judy, however, had spent decades dismantling people exactly like her. Over 25 years on the bench, she had encountered thousands of fraudsters, scammers, and manipulators. By the time Karen stepped into her courtroom, the judge had already identified a dozen inconsistencies in her paperwork alone. She knew this case wasn't what it appeared to be, and she had designed the perfect strategy to expose it. Karen Whitmore was 47 years old and believed she had mastered the art of exploiting the insurance system. This wasn't her first fraudulent claim. Years earlier, she had sued a grocery store after claiming she slipped and fell, even though security cameras proved the incident never happened. The insurance company settled anyway, paying her thousands, simply to avoid the expense of fighting the case. That payout taught Karen a dangerous lesson. She realized insurers often preferred quick settlements over expensive investigations. Later, she filed another claim after a minor parking lot accident, insisting she suffered severe whiplash despite being the driver who caused the collision herself. Again, she received compensation. Each successful scam strengthened her confidence and convinced her she had discovered a loophole she could exploit indefinitely. By the time she targeted her employer, Karen believed herself untouchable. Her newest scheme was her most ambitious yet. Karen claimed she had suffered catastrophic injuries while lifting a simple box of office supplies at Henderson accounting firm, where she had worked for 6 years as office manager. According to her lawsuit, the box caused severe damage to her neck, spine, and shoulder, leaving her permanently disabled. She alleged she could no longer work, required constant medical treatment, and endured unbearable pain every day of her life. She sued her employer, Richard Henderson, demanding $50,000 in damages for medical expenses, lost wages, future care, and emotional suffering. Unlike her earlier scams, this one was meticulously prepared. Karen obtained medical records from 3 different physicians, each diagnosing separate conditions that appeared to support her claims. She produced documentation showing prescriptions for opioids and muscle relaxants. She attended physical therapy sessions for months without missing an appointment. 4. She even recorded videos portraying herself struggling with ordinary activities such as tying her shoes or reaching for dishes in a cabinet. She spent endless hours studying workplace injury lawsuits, learning medical terminology, and researching tactics from online communities dedicated to gaming the system. By the time she entered court, she believed her case was impossible to challenge. Meanwhile, Richard Henderson looked like a man whose entire life had been drained away. At 62 years old, the owner of the small accounting firm had spent decades building his business through hard work and sacrifice. Karen's lawsuit had nearly destroyed everything he created. Insurance costs skyrocketed overnight. Employees quit because of the tension and uncertainty surrounding the case. Richard feared bankruptcy. Worse than the financial pressure was the emotional betrayal. He had trusted Karen for years, rewarded her with raises, treated her like family, and even invited her to personal family events. Now she was trying to ruin him with lies. The courtroom audience expected another ordinary daytime television case that morning. Cameras were positioned. The bailiff stood ready. Spectators settled into their seats, unaware that they were about to witness one of the most explosive fraud exposures ever captured on television. Only a few observant people noticed the unfamiliar older man seated quietly in the back row, holding a folder and medical bag. His presence felt unusual, but nobody understood his purpose. Then Karen made her entrance. She moved slowly through the courtroom doors, her cane tapping dramatically against the floor. The bright white neck brace around her throat looked brand new. Every step appeared painfully deliberate. As she lowered herself into her seat, she winced and groaned loudly enough for the microphones to capture every sound. She wore conservative professional clothing designed to make her appear trustworthy and sympathetic. To most people watching, she looked like a hard-working woman whose life had been shattered by injury. Judge Judy observed the performance carefully. Her expression remained calm, but her experienced eyes noticed everything. The neck brace looked too clean for something supposedly worn for 8 months straight. The cane was positioned perfectly for maximum visibility. The timing of Karen's moans felt rehearsed rather than genuine. A Judge Judy had seen this kind of theater countless times before the proceedings began. "Miss Whitmore," Judge Judy said evenly, "you're suing your employer for injuries you claim happened while lifting a box at work." Tell me exactly what occurred. Karen launched into her rehearsed story with polished confidence. She described lifting what she called an extremely heavy box before suddenly feeling a sharp snap in her neck and back. She spoke dramatically about unbearable pain that supposedly consumed her life every day afterward. According to Karen, she could barely complete ordinary tasks anymore. Cooking dinner, getting dressed, even simple household chores left her in tears. Judge Judy listened quietly before asking a simple question. "How much did the box weigh?" Karen hesitated ever so slightly. "At least 40 or 50 pounds, she answered. "Far too heavy for someone my size." What Karen didn't know was that Judge Judy had already reviewed inventory records and security footage from the office. The box actually weighed 15 pounds. Cameras showed Karen lifting similar boxes repeatedly without difficulty both before and after the alleged injury. But Judge Judy didn't reveal that yet. She allowed Karen to continue digging herself deeper. Karen explained that she had seen 3 separate doctors who all confirmed the seriousness of her injuries. She named specialists, pain management physicians, and therapists, insisting they unanimously agreed she would never fully recover. Judge Judy leaned back slightly. "And all 3 doctors concluded this injury was caused specifically by lifting that box?" "Yes, Your Honor." Karen answered confidently, without question. Then Judge Judy requested something simple. "Please turn your head to the left as far as you comfortably can." Karen barely moved an inch before grimacing dramatically. "I can't, Faye," she whispered. "The pain is too severe." That was the moment everything changed. Judge Judy's demeanor shifted completely. The patience vanished from her face, replaced by the sharp focus viewers recognized whenever she caught someone lying. "Before we continue," she said calmly, I'd like to introduce someone observing your testimony today. 4. She gestured toward the mystery man seated in the back. This is Dr. Robert Martinez, Chief of Orthopedic Medicine at St. Mary's Hospital and a nationally recognized expert in workplace injury fraud detection. 4. The color immediately drained from Karen's face. Her confident posture disappeared. She nervously adjusted her neck brace as panic flickered across her expression. Your Honor. 4. I don't understand why. Judge Judy cut her off instantly. You will in a moment. Dr. Martinez approached the front of the courtroom carrying his folder. His calm authority filled the room as he addressed the judge. 4. I reviewed Ms. Whitmore's medical records, observed her behavior today, and consulted the physicians involved in her treatment. He began. Based on my findings, her claimed injuries are entirely inconsistent with her demonstrated physical abilities. Karen immediately protested, but Dr. Martinez continued. She claims severe cervical strain that prevents normal head movement. However, 4. When she entered the courtroom 30 minutes ago, I observed her turn her head naturally in both directions multiple times without hesitation or discomfort. Gasps spread through the courtroom audience. 4. Karen's lawyer looked stunned as he shuffled through papers frantically. Dr. Martinez continued dismantling the case piece by piece. 4. He explained that Karen had secretly obtained pain medications from multiple physicians without informing them about each other, behavior consistent with doctor shopping and prescription abuse. He then revealed that independent radiologists reviewed her MRI scans and found nothing beyond ordinary age-related changes. No serious spinal injury existed, no nerve damage, no evidence supporting her dramatic claims. But the most devastating revelation was still coming. I also reviewed Ms. Whitmore's public social media accounts. Dr. Martinez said, courtroom staff displayed photographs on the large monitor. The first image showed Karen participating in a hot yoga class, performing advanced poses requiring significant flexibility. Another showed her jumping on trampolines with her children. A third captured her lifting her daughter, 4, who weighed far more than the 15-pound box she claimed permanently disabled her. All the photos were taken during the exact period she claimed she was severely incapacitated. Karen's performance collapsed instantly. The cane stood forgotten beside her chair. The neck brace suddenly looked absurd. Sweat and tears ruined her carefully composed appearance as she desperately tried to explain away the evidence. Judge Judy stopped her cold. "For a Whitmore," she said sharply. "You are digging yourself into a deeper hole with every word." Then she turned to Dr. Martinez. "Doctor, based on your professional opinion, did this woman sustain any legitimate injury from lifting that box?" "No, Your Honor," he answered firmly. "There is absolutely no medical evidence supporting her claims. This is textbook insurance fraud." Judge Judy delivered her ruling immediately. "Ms. Whitmore, you are a fraud. You will not receive 1 penny from Mr. Henderson. Instead, I am awarding him $15,000 for legal costs and damages caused by your deception. Furthermore, this matter is being referred to the district attorney for criminal prosecution involving fraud, perjury, and attempted theft by deception." The gavel slammed down. Karen, who moments earlier performed as a helpless victim, now sat upright in complete emotional collapse. Richard Henderson leaned back in overwhelming relief as tears streamed down his face. 8 months of stress and fear disappeared in an instant. When the episode aired, the footage exploded online. Millions shared clips comparing Karen's courtroom act with the yoga and trampoline photos. The case became one of the most viral courtroom fraud exposures ever broadcast. Insurance investigators and legal professionals praised Judge Judy's strategy and used the footage in fraud detection training nationwide. Karen's downfall continued after the cameras stopped rolling. Prosecutors filed criminal charges within weeks. Faced with overwhelming evidence, she eventually pleaded guilty. She received prison time, probation, and was ordered to pay tens of thousands in restitution to Richard Henderson and the insurance companies she deceived. Her marriage collapsed, her reputation was destroyed, and her life unraveled completely. In the end, the woman who believed she could outsmart everyone discovered the hard way that deception only works until the right person starts asking the right questions. And in Judge Judy's courtroom, lies never survive for long.